So I thought, well, that sounds like a ripoff. And I started studying it, and I thought, after a while, I figured out, no, they were going to the wrong practitioners. You've got your ladder on the wrong wall. You don't have a medical condition. You've got a lifestyle-based chronic downward spiraling, degenerative type conditions, but all lifestyle-based. So you don't go to a physician for that.
You are the well-being wisdom warrior, the heartfelt healer,
the luminary leader,
the health harbinger,
the shaman, the witch, the guru,
the guide of humanity to an embodied, enlightened future.
Welcome to the Well Pro Show, the podcast for wellness pros.
Where your wellness lifestyle is your core leadership strategy.
Experience the camaraderie of collaborative colleagues.
Where your job as a wellness pro is to guide the transformation.
You are the resistance, the future, the way forward.
You are the community counselor, the change maker.
The Well Pro Show, brought to you by futurist thought leader Kate Stillman and the team at Wellness Pro Academy. Made for you, by us.
Hello, this is Kate Stillman with the Well Pro Show, and I am here with Reed Davis of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. And we're going to talk quite a bit about really what is functional diagnostic nutrition and what do wellness pros need to know. Why don't you start by just giving us a little bit of why you got into functional diagnostics and really what that term means.
Well, thanks very much. And I'm happy to be here with you and your magnificent audience of well pros. And, I have the same heart as anyone in this business, and that is to help other people. First, back in the 90s, I was actually in environmental law and conservation, saving the whole planet, air, birds, water, trees, bees, and I started to think in the late 90s about people like, well, what's it doing to us, including me? And I didn't have any health challenges at the time. I was actually in really good shape, and my late 40s, and but I didn't want anything sneaking up on me. And my son, who was an outstanding high school athlete at the time, that's not just his dad talking, he was really good. And so he was going to this wellness center for chiropractic and acupuncture and massage, keeping his body in shape. And I was talking with the owner, the physician there all the time. And I just decided to change careers. I said, hey, I'd like to work in this field. So I'd made a lot of money in environment and conservation through recycling and all these different things. And so I thought I could apply my business skills to the wellness industry. And I was hired there at this wellness center for that reason. But the owner, when I first started, and I think your listeners could really identify with this, she said, hey, Reed, I'm starting my diplomat training in nutrition. Would you like to go along with me? And you'll end up with a certificate as a nutritional therapist, and you could work on our patients in between classes. And I thought I cannot pass that opportunity up. So I did. I started the classes. I started working with patients in between my classes at the wellness center, and I just fell in love with one-to-one working clinically. I fell in love with Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones, who were coming in, and this was a patient base or a clientele who were seeking something alternative. They'd been through the mill. A lot of them had seen 6 or 8 or 10 practitioners already and weren't better. And they were coming to us for alternative medicine and modalities. And I became the nutritionist there. And so again, I kind of fell in love with it. But the thing I noticed right away, Kate, was that everyone had seen all these practitioners, weren't better, and I just thought they were getting ripped off. I didn't really know. I'd never really seen a doctor before except for injuries. So I thought, well, that sounds like a ripoff. And I started studying it, and I thought, after a while, I figured out, no, they were going to the wrong practitioners. You've got your ladder on the wrong wall. You don't have a medical condition. You've got a lifestyle-based chronic downward spiraling, degenerative type conditions, but all lifestyle based. So you don't go to a physician for that. They're there for acute care, heroic medicine, getting rid of symptoms, which they'd been through. And so I would talk about that and talk about nutrition, but nutrition wasn't good enough. It wasn't selling supplements and all that crap. I did all that that's what I was being trained to do, actually. And it wasn't working. So real quickly, I mean, within the first year I started working there in 1999, I realized that the ladder or the wall they needed to put their ladder on didn't really exist. There was no system for them to follow to get better, to reverse their chronic illness. And so I was out riding my motorcycle one day, which I do all the time. I'm an avid cyclist. I live in Southern California. It only rains like 10 days a year here. So I'm out riding. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna be the last person these people need to see. And that was naive, of course. I had no idea how, but I never let that stop me before. So that's how I got started. The why is because I really wanted to help in the cycle of trial and error that our patients were going through. And then your other question, functional diagnostic nutrition, what is that? Well, that didn't come around for 10 years. I didn't need to name what I did. I worked in a clinic, I was a nutritionist, but I started running laboratory work. This became my claim to fame. In 10 years, so I worked for 10 years there, running thousands of labs on thousands of people under the doctors. And they let me do anything I wanted because they trusted me to, with my law background, I was never going to practice medicine without a license. I knew where the line was. I never crossed it once. I never gave a medical diagnosis or treatment plan. And guess what? No one wanted one. They'd all been through all that. And those don't work in these cases. So I built this wall for them to put their ladder on of searching for underlying causes and conditions through this breakthrough functional laboratory testing, which was really being pioneered at the time. So I ran thousands of labs on thousands of people. I figured out some patterns. I recognized some things, Kate, that actually worked. Here's why this, and here's why this, and here's why that. No medical diagnosis, but the underlying conditions. And I came up with this pattern that would dial it in: hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous system. There's labs for all that. And it spells hidden, HIDDEN. I'll say it one more time: hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system balance. So that's the hidden system that developed 10 years later. This is, again, an ongoing thing. And not only that, but the protocol, what I had to tell Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones all the time: hey, look, it's not coming in the office that matters. It's good, you're getting your chiro and all your things. It's what you do at home that matters. It's how you live that matters. And I developed this system of at-home instructions, DRESS. We called it Dress for Health Success. I named that because it's diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. That became the magic formula. And again, there's never was there a medical diagnosis or treatment plan for any specific thing. When you investigate this whole cluster of healing opportunities, HIDDEN, and then apply the principles of health building in DRESS, you get better. It outperformed anything that all those people had ever been to before or done. And so I got, some little fame and fortune from that. But what really, the name, to answer your question, I finally got talked into teaching. Again, it kind of solidified one day when one of the lab directors of a lab that we used every day he called me up and said, "Who the hell are you?" Like, "I don't know, I'm Reed." "What do you mean?" He goes, "You run more labs than any 5 doctors we know put together."
But you were doing it under a doctor, right? Because you can't. Can you run labs without a doctor? Because I know
Well,
on
we
your
can
site
now.
it says
I've
that the
created
health.
I've
Oh,
created a direct-to-consumer program so that all
okay.
my students can do it. Yes, I was working under the doctor there, but
Mm,
they knew who, because I was the one who was always bugging them,
mm,
getting training from the clinical advisors there and things. And I had other great mentors. Believe me, I didn't like I just recognized patterns where and
yep.
work very hard. That's
Yeah.
about it. But so when they finally taught me into teaching, I put on a workshop and I had to call it something. And so I just thought of a name. I said, okay, it's functional. It's all about function. It's
Mm,
diagnostic in nature using data, even though it's not medical diagnostics, it's diagnostic in nature because we use this data from the person, blood, saliva, urine, stool data. And then it's nutrition or, nurturing really. But so functional in diagnostic in nature, nutrition and nurturing, FDN. So we're known now around the world as FDN, functional diagnostic nutrition, because after 10 years, I started teaching, and that's all I do now. I teach, I have over 4,000 graduates in 50 countries.
mm.
And so that's the answer to the why. I just want to help people. And the name came from I had to name my first lecture in 2008. I called it function, and now I'm stuck with it. It's like it's like that's what we called it, so that's what it is.
Yeah. So what has happened in the field of testing, of at-home testing, where people
Yeah,
want more
yeah.
access to their own data and maybe want to work with someone without necessarily going into a doctor for a blood test?
Well, I love what you just said. People getting their own data. That's the key, and I am the people's guy for this. When I started teaching, one piece of the puzzle I had to come up with was, well, how are these students, most of them like me, weren't physicians. And so how are they going to get to lab? So I created one of the first direct-to-consumer programs through a very cooperative lab, biohealth laboratories. And their founder died a few years ago and they're out of business, but they helped get this started. At the time, there was no other direct-to-consumer program that I was aware of. Now there's 50. This
At
is,
least.
yeah, there's at least 50. Even the big
There's
referencing
50 in
labs,
in stools alone,
yeah,
right?
Quest and LabCorp and even the big referencing labs who do,
Microbiome labs have
yeah,
exploded.
yeah, they've directed it. So, but I kind of pioneered it to so to speak, and now it's very popular. I'm glad because people need this data. It's their data. You want to get you want to know if your hormones are balanced and if your immune system is over or underactive. Is your digestion? Are you actually breaking down and absorbing food? You could be spending a lot of money on all that organic stuff, and if it's not getting absorbed, what good is it? The detoxification systems and so on. These can all be measured. So we get these measurements. Now you know what's wrong, and obviously the solution is also under your control for the most part. And so that's our system. That's how we work.
And so you're coaching health coaches to read diagnostic test. Is that part of what's happening at
Yeah,
FDN?
well, they're functional laboratory tests. There's actually some legality around the phraseology. So most of our tests are what we call research use only. So there is no diagnosis. Doctors don't use them. And by the way, therefore, they're not paid by insurance. They are out of pocket expenses for our clients, but that's okay. They're willing to pay because and by the way, they're cheap. They're not real expensive. So it's an affordable way to get data on yourself and figure out what's really wrong so you can do something about it instead of just popping pills or waiting for surgery. One thing I learned a long time ago, you don't get extra parts.
Yeah, you don't get extra parts. So the testing that you're having your coaches do with your clients is it's urine, stool, blood.
Yeah, blood, saliva, urine, stool, hair. Not that I have any, but trying to do a hair test when you got a bald head is kind of hard. My wife cuts it though, and we figure it out. But anyway, yeah, blood, saliva, urine, stool, hair. You could do skin. There's skin fluorescence testing that's actually very useful, but you got to have the machines for that. So it's gathering data. It's gathering intel. It's gathering intel on what's really going on inside. And yet empowers the practitioner, especially the I'll say non-licensed, your health coaches, your massage therapists, your all the people who are do-gooders who want to help their clients and they want to get deeper into what's going on, but don't have the tools. Well, I can teach you the tools and how to use them and
And what
give you
is,
access to them through our program.
and as far as the client cost for how much testing do you recommend? Let's say someone has been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition from their doctor. Like how much testing a year and about what does it cost in testing?
Well, the investment up front, if you do a comprehensive intake, is about $1,200, which might sound like a lot to some people, and it is. It's an entry barrier, and I'm sorry for that. But we say you've heard it before. Test, don't guess. Let's just take food sensitivities. That's one test. It's around $300 to find out to test for 176 different foods. No one eats 176 different foods, but you got to cover a lot of ground, because there's a lot of different diets out there. So, what an investment that is. I've had people completely reverse migraines and bad skin conditions and asthma and all kinds of things, ADD, ADHD. I once had a principal of a school call me because I'd worked with one of our patients. Her son was having trouble. I never even met the young man. I sent her home with some self-test kits. She did them, and she had said that the boy was being sent home from school for bad behavior, not paying attention, poking the other kids, and whatever outbursts. I used to do that in school too, but there was no such thing as ADD back then. We were just called boys. But anyways, I said, I don't know if I could help or not. Here's a couple lab test kits. And sure enough, the kid was I mean, these foods he was eating were neurotoxins and sugar and not going to bed at time. There's some other, so we adjusted just a few things very simply. Again, I never even met the guy. By the way, they're trying to put this 9-year-old on drugs. That
Right.
was the recommendation and why she asked me in the first place. So I'm trying to get to the point, which is that the principal tracked me down after just about 3 or 4 weeks and said, I got your name from the mom. Hope it's okay. I just want to ask you, this is why this kid's a different kid. He's paying attention. He's getting good grades. He's not poking it, all the stuff. Then his question was, what did you put him on? And that really broke my heart because I had to say, well, we put him on a better lifestyle. It's what we got him off of that matters. He wasn't on a single supplement or anything. So I'm sorry to disappoint you, principal. There's no magic pill. You got to do the work. But I'm just pointing out that one lab test and I have so many stories like that happened very early on that encouraged me and kept me going. Because I'm going to tell you, when you get stories like that, you feel good.
Mhm.
That's so emotionally rewarding. You just keep getting these like home runs. Not everybody's a home run, but I'm going to tell you, you get so many that you're doing good work.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of how many tests do people usually get? Do they usually just do it
Yeah,
annually to have
5,
a baseline, or is it just
uh, uh,
once in a decade?
5 tests.
5 tests
And
every year or five
5 tests up
once?
front, and then depending on what you learn from that and what you learn from the behavior program, the Dress for Health Success program, and how well you follow it. I'm not in control of the results. The person has to follow the recommendations, Kate, and then we see where it goes. So after 3 months, there's an evaluation. How well have you been following the program? By the way, we meet every week or two with our clients, but really just holding them accountable to the program. How well are you following the program? Where do you need help? What's your weakest area? Lots of questions, lots of honest feedback, changing the course and direction sometimes. You got to zigzag a little bit, depending on how the wind is blowing. And I always say there's no motorboating to the to the island of health. It's work, but we will reassess and either retest something or even get into deeper testing sometimes. There are other labs than these 5 that I recommend up front. So, I mean, we have access to about 70 different labs. So, but the basics, again, are hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous system. So some are even, quiz. We have intake forms that you can reevaluate yourself. And the object is to teach a man to fish, a person, instead of having to give them the fish. And we teach, and then our clients can teach their families and so on. So there's an investment. I don't mean to downplay it, but doesn't seem to be a problem for most people. They find a way. We tell them to sell one of those troublesome children you have. No, I mean, they have house sales or whatever, or just quit buying a Starbucks every day. That's $300. That's crazy amounts of money. They're already spending the money on something. And if you think getting healthy is expensive, try staying sick.
Yeah, we just find, with what we do, Wellness Pro Academy and Club Thrive Global, and just getting people to start intermittent fasting usually frees up a lot of money. They feel better and they save a lot of money.
Remarkable. and great results. Yeah, so D for diet, DRESS is diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation. There's a lot of principles of health building within that. And diet, we use metabolic typing minus food sensitivities. We always test. And depending on if their goal is weight loss or what have you, intermittent fasting or it could be very useful. We call it time restricted eating, but there's a lot of names for it. But yeah, diet's critical. That's a great place to start.
So in terms of people that are already working with functional medicine doctors and getting testing done, is that something that then your health coaches get from the client's doctors?
Yeah, great point. So I'll answer that by saying, everyone who takes my course, I'm not here to sell the course, keep your checkbooks in your pocket. A lot of them want to be independent health entrepreneurs. They want to live their lifestyle and work when they want and from wherever they want. And
sorry, I'm talking more about the client, like the patients of your coaches.
Yeah, so
if they're already working with a functional medicine doctor and have the test, what's the difference there?
Okay, so even with that, graduates will go work for functional medicine doctors. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be health entrepreneurs. They don't want anything to do with business. They just want to help people. So you could be your own practitioner. You can go work with a functional medicine doctor. What I've heard, what comes back to me all the time is that the FM doctors still are bound by their licensure to diagnose and treat, and they take insurance and, they're writing prescriptions for snotty noses, just like every other doctor, because they got to pay the bills. And they want to do, unless they go strictly cash practice, which is a whole, that's a security blanket that very few of them want to give up, the ability to take insurance and bill. So they're handcuffed. They have to still diagnose and treat specifics.
Meaning functional medicine doctors can't integrate coaching into their practices legally?
And they hire coaches.
But they can't do it themselves. They can't
under their medical. But they've got to, of course they can do health coaching.
Okay.
I want to be clear on this. I don't want to confound the issue. But what I was trying to say was that functional medicine doctors are still doctors. They're still bound by their licensure to diagnose and treat specific things. If you walk in there with a certain condition they're bound by their licensure, again, their boards, to, you better do this, you diagnose this, this
So
is
what do
the
you mean by that? Like that they have to, are you saying that they can only prescribe pharmaceuticals, or what are you saying by that? That
No, they
they're
can sell supplements, but if, depending on the
and coaching,
condition,
right?
and
They
do
can also,
coaching.
okay.
And there's even ways they can bill for coaching. It varies from state to state. There's all these things going on, and we support lobbying agencies that promote the ability to do health coaching in doctors' offices. And it's a great idea. You know, doctors always give it, even your most conservative, traditional, standard practitioners give a nod to diet and exercise.
Well, I would say especially in functional medicine and integrative medicine practices, right, where the doctors actually taken additional training and differentiated their title from, the typical general practitioner.
I agree. You know, I got my thoughts on it. I've seen, I started in the 90s when the functional medicine wasn't spoken. It wasn't a term we used. It
Yeah.
was alternative.
Yeah,
That
there's
kind
like
of went into
naturopathic doctors, there are NDs and MDs at that point, right?
NDs. Some of them weren't even licensed in some states. So it went from alternative to complementary to integrative. Finally, functional medicine evolved. But I'm just trying to say it hasn't finished evolving, Kate. I think there's still a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah,
work
it's
to be
tricky.
done to evolve medicine. And our point of view will be in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone's working, so back to the question, if someone's working with a functional medicine doctor and they've already done a bunch of labs, right, and they're trying to understand these labs more on their own or with a health coach, that's really where you guys come in if they're already doing that testing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, because we have coaching skills as well.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, a lot of health coaches, they're very good at behavior change coaching, life coaching, and things like that. They just don't have the tools. They don't understand what's really going on. And so we give them those tools and skills, interpretive skills, um, to be able to help people. And there's FDNs, we call ourselves. There's lots of us working in doctors' offices because the doctor gets it. That, hey, I need someone who knows what the heck's going on. So we have PAs and nurses going through our program too, so they can learn. It's just kind of an up leveling of knowledge.
And what percentage of your graduates work with functional medicine practices or other medical practices versus on their own?
I'd say it's less than half because most, again, they're independent health entrepreneurs. Like me, I worked in a clinic, but I worked for myself there. I worked with the doctors, but not for the doctors. So I would do my part, and I developed it into a profession of its own. So at the end, we're professionals, fee for service. We can work independently or in an office. It just depends how you want to handle your life. It is work because you have to get customers, and the beauty is that you can work the hours you want. You can work from where you want. It's very rewarding when you do good work, when you get great results. There's the financial rewards as well. And, I'll say that it's not that hard to build a functional practice if you want to.
Mm-hmm. So how much, just from the professional side, like how much, just like a lot of practitioners and doctors will sell supplements, right, to have a supplemental income in their business. Is that part of the testing model? Like I know with like Viome and other, at-home testing companies, it's like you get like 50% or 25% of the cost of testing as part of your kickback, like somewhat similar to supplement. I mean, the supplement sales, sometimes it's 50% or more, or 100.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in some companies it's a few 100%, but.
Yeah. Well, drug companies, sometimes it's 1,000%.
Yeah, right.
3,000% markups on their drugs. So we're not ashamed of how much money we might make off supplements. It's pennies, it's peanuts compared to what drug companies make. Well, I mean, I could give you the statistics, But
I'm just curious more on the
yeah,
business
you
model
can make
side
some
as
money
like
off
a
the
health.
supplements too. Or you could tell you what,
Well, so supplements and testing, do you guys have your own supplement line that you're using with your health coaches?
I
or is
don't.
it- No.
You know, I have created some formulas that some people have used. I've given them away. Here, you should do this and do that.
Yeah.
I probably next year will come out with my own stress and hormones formula
Uh-huh.
because I've stumbled across a world-renowned herbologist, and
Yeah.
I've pestering him to create a formula for me. But so one day, but no, we recommend over-the-counter products. You know, we don't
Okay.
do drugs. It's all, matter of fact, my course is fully accredited by the American Association of Drugless Practitioners,
Mm.
gives all of my graduates a holistic health practitioner status, HHP. So it's yeah, we're well thought of in the space. Trying to make sure I answer your question.
Yeah.
We're fee for service. So I
Okay.
might tell someone, I'll work like a lawyer. You go in and what's the first thing they ask you for is a check. You know, yeah, give me a check for 5 grand. I'll represent you.
Mhm.
So we are fee for service, and it's whatever you feel comfortable charging and need to make the kind of living you want. You make up your own fees. Now, in that fee, you're covering your time and knowledge to help that person. If you make any extra off the supplements or something, not the labs, you don't make money on labs because we're not the lab. We don't take the lab, you know, remember
Mhm.
it's direct to consumer. We're
Mhm.
just getting paid for our expertise and time. And so, and you could, depending on your fees, give the supplements away wholesale. You don't have to make money on
Right.
supplements. You know,
Right.
I
Yeah. You can
gift an awful lot of things because I'm already charging them for my time, so to speak. But I know lots of practitioners like my people who have dispensaries of their own, and they make a lot of money on supplements. But that way they keep their fees lower.
Yep.
So you know you
Yeah. It's
just
like one way or the other, right?
yeah you can have low if you have all this income from supplements, you have very reasonable fees, you know, and make it lower entry barrier to get the testing done. The testing we have no control over. We don't mark it up. We don't have
Yeah.
any way of
Okay.
getting
Yeah. 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 That's what I
discounts.
was
Yeah.
curious because with a lot of the more affiliate at home testing, right? Like that there's a whatever, there's an incentive.
Yeah,
And it's not necessarily a bad incentive because people need their data. And we're
we
seeing
do need
that.
their data. We have our own in-house, we call it the medical director program.
Mm.
So we don't use an outside service for that. We have our own doctors, we have our own the labs we work with. So
Oh,
we
okay.
we expedite the lab testing. And that way, let's say a physician is listening and you were in Florida or wherever, but you have people outside the state that you want to work with, you can work through our program and we'll do all the lab testing for you.
Mm.
And you can still interpret. Now, as to whether you can prescribe to them, probably not unless they come and see you. But you can
Mhm.
certainly use all the natural protocols. And we have a lot of physicians putting their staff through our program
Okay.
just so they can do that.
So for people who are more on the health coaching side or on the non that are not doctors, how in your program, so they're learning how to read these tests and to then use your dress method to work with the clients in terms of not diagnosing, right? Because they're not diagnosing. How does that work with like, what's a typical, like imagine I'm a client and you're like reading my lab test. Can you kind of, I think for people listening that are wellness pros, they're probably curious about how that conversation goes.
Sure. So a great example would be you've run these labs. Now you came to us, let's say you came to us with a diagnosis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, irritable bowel,
Yep.
name something.
Yep.
Autoimmune is very common. We don't care about that. That's between you and your physician.
Yeah.
What we found is your hormones are out of balance. These are the foods you're sensitive to. Your immune system is underactive, all stressed out, like
Mm.
especially in the gut. Um, the term leaky gut is one of those that could be considered a diagnosis, but telling someone that, unwanted particles are going from the gut lumen inside the gut into the body through the liver, they're congesting the liver. These are all actionable healing opportunities. And that's the word we use. We would never give a medical diagnosis. There's no DX codes or ICD-9 codes or 10 codes, any of these things. So it's a way of educating people on what's really wrong, and then things they could do. Because, Kate, as you know, these people mostly have lived themselves into these problems. It's the
Yep.
epigenetics, is so they can live themselves out of it, and we're there to make the connections. So a medical diagnosis for a patient or client of mine has never come out of my lips. I might, it might be where a physician can diagnose some of these things, but they would be tied mostly to prescription medication. That's what they have to do. Otherwise, it could be malpractice for them.
Right.
We're not bound by those things. We're saying, well, look, you've lived like this. You drink too much. You're coffee in the morning, alcohol at night. You never exercise. You eat a bunch of crap. You've got all of these things because of how you've lived. Here's the data you need to motivate you. And by the way, it'll help us track your progress, test you, and you're going to be in control of your own life and your own health from now on. We don't want you dependent on us. And medicine works the opposite. It works on dependency. You have to go see the doctor to get your prescription refilled. And I know, and I was never in the system before, but when I turned 65, 5 years ago, you have to get Medicare. You have to. There's no choice. It's the law. You get Medicare. Well, now, they call you all the time to come in. You haven't been in. I go, well, I have nothing wrong with me. Well, you have to come in, once a year and get examined and things, and what's going on. You know what they
We'll
want to
find
know?
something wrong with you.
Yeah, they do. They give you a questionnaire and it says, are you depressed? Are you getting enough food? Is anyone abusing you? Do you have a gun in the house? I mean, just really weird stuff. I go, no, I'm a happy guy. Trust me. I don't need a prescription for anything, like unhappiness or loneliness or that's like they just poke and prod. So even if you don't have a physical complaint, the last time I went in, they said, may we see your insurance card and what is your preferred dispensary,
Where are you going to get your drugs?
That was their two questions. May we see your
Always.
Medicare card and and oh my God, I'm like, well, what can I say? So I know how the other system works.
I read
Ours is
today
better.
that in the United States, we, for developed countries, we fall into the lowest parameters of health and 50% of the world's drug consumption. It's pretty scary.
Yeah,
Like when you really see these, like,
yeah.
oh yeah, like who's controlling medicine? It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious right now.
You know who would be a good guest for you, Kate, is do you know Tom O'Brien? He's like the famous.
Oh, someone just mentioned him.
He's a good friend of mine. He's a
I'd love
very
an
good
introduction.
friend. He says, that America ranks second in health, second from the bottom.
Second from the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to see how we spread our culture, it's a little petrifying. I live part-time in Mexico, and there's pharmacies to say every block is an understatement. There's like 2 or 3 on every block. It's really scary.
Yeah. I bought a house in Cabo last year.
Oh, awesome. I'm in Punta Mita.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad we had a chance to get into what FDN training is about, especially for the wellness entrepreneurs who want to get a lot more into testing. So for those who want to get more into Reed's work, fdntraining.com/thrive with Kate, all one word. And then that'll get you into an overview of the DRESS program, right? That you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we have a Dress for Health Success guide. It explains the lifestyle protocols and things, and a little bit about the testing, but it's a way to find out more if you choose. It's fdntraining.com/thrive with Kate.
Yay. Awesome, Reed. Well, I'm really glad we had a chance to
Thank you very
to-
much. I appreciate the interview. And like I said in the beginning, we just want to help people and spread the good word. You have more power than you think.
Absolutely.
Are you a podcast listener ready to guide your wellness business to more profit? We have an exclusive offer just for you, introducing our unique abilities profit consultation. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Don't miss this opportunity to unlock your profit potential. During this personalized consultation, your expert coach will guide you to discover just how much money you're leaving on the table from an outdated business model. Say goodbye to trial and error and hello to tailored guidance that leverages your unique abilities. Your success coach will work closely with you to create a winning strategy that aligns with your strengths and vision. Don't let the challenges of running a wellness business hold you back from more profit any longer. Up-level your leadership with our actionable strategies. Overcome hurdles. Receive innovative solutions. Take that crucial step towards building the profitable wellness business you deserve. Schedule your free Unique Abilities profit consultation today. But hurry, this exclusive offer is only free for our valued podcast listeners. Don't wait. Unleash your unique abilities and unlock your true profit potential. It's time to make your mark in the world of wellness. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Namaste and have a great day.